Shalom, family. Sorry I'm late. I hope everybody is doing well. Boy, it suddenly got real windy out here, but oh well. I don't like windy nights. Sometimes they're too loud. But we're going to get into Three Eye Atlas again. Now, someone was trying to inquire information from them about Three Eye Atlas, and that's the CIA. And they wouldn't exactly confirm or deny whether they got information, but I would imagine they would because before we went through that government shutdown, they were talking about, if it were to come here, what kind of impact it would have on humanity. And of course, nobody is prepared for anything like that. How do you prepare for that? You can't, you know? You just have to deal with things, and what can you do? So, they were talking about that. So I'm sure they got a lot on it, whatever kind of scenarios they would have if it were to come. But they're definitely watching it, y'all, because every day, oh, it's heading towards Jupiter. Um, and it should be leaving the solar system, and they don't know that. They really truly don't know if this thing is ever going to leave or not. And sometimes I think about it. I don't know if I 100% believe that this thing entered on July 1st. I think it might have been here a lot longer than they're admitting. I really do, and they don't know what it is. The doubt, because they can't control it. This is something they absolutely cannot control. And it's still doing all kinds of things out there that they can't explain. But in the same token, they're still trying to call it a comet. And we never seen a comet behave that way. And why would you have a file on a comet? You got it on this thing because you really don't know what it is. So it's real interesting on the things people are saying. And there are still, when you go online, there's still a number of people following it and just watching what it's going to do. Now, they're making the claim that it's going to reach Jupiter in March. This is what they're claiming, that it should reach Jupiter in March. And isn't that the Hebrew New Year? I'm just saying. So, y'all, let me go ahead and let me see if I can pull this up. Okay. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you. Okay.
Ever heard of a black swan event? It's a rare, unexpected, world changing event like 9/11. That was a black swan event. I'm starting to think that Three Eye Atlas could be one of those black swan events for us. Now, for anyone that thinks Three Eye Atlas is just a rock floating through space and we're reading way too much into it, I want you to explain these anomalies to me. It is freaking massive, okay? It is 5 kilometers wide. That's bigger than Mount Everest laid on its side. It weighs 33 billion tons. It's way bigger than any other interstellar visitor that we have ever seen. Granted, there's only been two more, but you get what I'm saying. It has a forward jet. This is a beam of light that looks like a tail on a comet, but it's pointed towards the sun instead of away from the sun like every other comet. It has extremely weird chemistry, and it's venting carbon dioxide rather than water vapor. extremely different than any other comet we've ever seen. Then let's get into the weird light reflection. It is scattering sunlight in a way that comets just don't. It looks artificial. Keep it real with you. There are some things about 3I Atlas that we will never be able to explain. Like, why is its orbit so perfect? Why is its timing so perfect? Why is it coming from the same direction as the wow signal? Now, if you don't know what the wow signal is, please let me know and we'll talk about that next time. But the reason I think it could be a black swan event is because next week we are going to get information about it from NASA. They are taking pictures of it and they are scanning its gases. And then it will be behind the sun until the 29th of October. When it swings back around, either it will come towards Earth or it will go away from Earth. One that says that this is just a natural rock flying through space, please explain all those anomalies to me. Avi Loeb, the one that thinks it might be a spaceship, he says that it could be like a Trojan horse. It looks innocent, but it could be hiding one hell of a surprise. And that's why I think it could be a black swan event. Because even if the odds of 3I Atlas being a spaceship or having aliens on it are very slim, if it is a spaceship with aliens on it, the consequences are massive.
Fact, no arguments here. The CIA has responded to a FOIA request whether or not they've been studying 3I Atlas as a threat to humanity or being extraterrestrial. The FOIA request came back and the CIA answered, we can neither confirm and deny we're doing this. Well, if you look in history, anytime they've had to say something like that, they've been significantly involved in participating in what they were being questioned of what they were doing. April 26, guys, I just had Avi Loeb on. Stuff's about to go down.
Did you know that the CIA thinks that 3I Atlas is very, very special? They really do. They just don't want to talk about it. Let me share with you some of the latest information about 3I Atlas, information which you should not ignore. Maybe you didn't know this, but there was a guy who submitted a Freedom of Information Act request to the CIA about 3I Atlas. He did this back in November. This week, the CIA has answered that FOIA request. This letter is a final response to your 12th of November Freedom of Information Act request. The CIA can neither confirm or deny the existence or non-existence of records responsive to your request. The fact of the existence or non-existence of such records is itself currently and properly classified. So, CIA says we can neither confirm nor deny the fact that there are any records. Oh, and by the way, that information's classified too. At least NASA will admit that it exists. The CIA, they just don't want to talk about it. Remember the other day I told you the latest images of 3I Atlas look just like a flux capacitor. The flux capacitor is that thing on Back to the Future, the thing inside Marty McFly's car that allowed him to travel into the future. That's what the flux capacitor is. This is the flux capacitor. This is the flux capacitor. And this is 3I Atlas. 1, 2, 3. Kind of weird. Next up for 3I Atlas, Jupiter. What do you think about all this? Let me know in the comments.
It's only discovered in July 2025. And in less than 6 months, it has gone from a scientific curiosity to a secret that could supposedly cause damage to the national security if revealed. It makes you wonder what they saw in that silence that we weren't allowed to see. We have the public face of NASA showing us grainy images, while behind the scenes, spy agencies are locking the doors and pulling the curtains tight. Some researchers are calling this a black swan event, the kind of discovery that changes everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. Today, we are going beyond the star charts and into the heart of a classified mystery. We are going to deconstruct the CIA's own words to understand why a visitor from another star system is being treated like a state secret, and why 2026 might be the year the truth finally becomes too heavy to hide. Here's the part that always messes with my head. In the world of government transparency, there is a specific kind of no that is much louder than a regular refusal. It's called a Glomar response. If you ask a government agency for records and they don't have them, they just tell you, no records found. It's simple, It's boring. It ends the conversation. But when the CIA responds to John Greenwald's FOIA request by saying that they can neither confirm nor deny the existence of documents regarding 3I Atlas, they are doing something very specific. They are telling the world that even admitting the CIA is interested in this object would reveal a secret that is vital to the safety of the United States. I don't know if that idea is right, but it's hard not to wonder why an agency that tracks terrorists and foreign spies is suddenly so protective of its data on a space rock. The Glomar response was born in the Cold War, used originally to hide the existence of a secret underwater salvage ship. It's a tool of espionage, so when it gets applied to 3I Atlas, we have to ask, what is the CIA seeing that the rest of us aren't? If this was just a comet, there would be no sources and methods to protect. You just point a telescope at it and share the pictures. But the CIA's letter, dated December 31st, 2025, explicitly mentions that the very existence of these records is classified. They are essentially staring into the void and refusing to blink, even as the public demands to know what's out there. Some researchers wonder if this is because 3I Atlas isn't just moving on its own, if the agency has detected signals, or a metallic composition that shouldn't be there, or a propulsion system that defies our understanding of physics. Admitting those records exist would change the world overnight. The CIA's job isn't to advance science, it's to manage threats. And by refusing to even acknowledge they have files on this visitor, they are telling us, without saying a word, that 3I Atlas is considered a potential threat. It's the ultimate bureaucratic silence. But as we dig deeper into the legal justifications they used, the picture starts to look even more like a thriller than a documentary. If the existence of the files is a secret, then what does that say about the object itself? What really gets me is the specific language they used in document F-2026-00231. They didn't just give a vague excuse. They built a legal fortress around 3I Atlas. They cited Section 3.6A of Executive Order 13,526. This is the order that governs how national security information is classified. It's the same law used for nuclear secrets and military battle plans. When the CIA invokes this, they are stating that the disclosure of information about 3I Atlas could reasonably be expected to cause damage to the national security. Damage. That's a heavy word to use for a piece of ice and dust drifting through the solar system. Unless, of course, it's not ice and dust. I can't shake the feeling that the damage they are worried about isn't from the object hitting Earth, but from the public finding out what it actually is. They also cited the National Security Act of 1947 and the CIA.
Everyone needs to get ready because we have very new information about Atlas 3I. Scientists were already perplexed when it was shooting a jet stream into our sun. After it went around the sun, they thought it was going to start leaving. They thought it was going to be going out of our solar system, not closer into Earth. Then a very interesting event happened that has scientists baffled. They cannot explain why. And hear me out. Because now the latest images and videos from these deep space telescopes show that Atlas 3I is brightening. It's literally getting brighter, which means there is a temperature increase or some kind of fusion that would make it produce more light than it already was. And the reason that is so interesting and peculiar is for other Oort cloud comets, they never just brighten up like that. Now, keep in mind, this is one of only 3 interstellar comets that we've ever had on record. So this is a big deal. What does this brightness mean? Is it signaling to us?
Have you heard of the Glomar response? It's a Cold War secrecy tactic, and the CIA just used it when they were asked about 3I Atlas. And that choice has definitely raised some eyebrows. So, as we all know, the interstellar object just recently passed through our solar system, and it caused a stir. Now, NASA said it behaved like a normal comet. Astronomers, both professional and amateur, searched for intelligent radio signals or technosignatures, and they didn't find anything definitive. But when the CIA was just asked if they're holding on to any information regarding 3I Atlas, they didn't say yes. and they didn't say no. They issued what's known as a Glomar response. We can neither confirm nor deny the existence of records on 3I Atlas. Here's why that matters. The Glomar response was created during the Cold War, and it was to hide a highly classified operation that involved a secret attempt to recover a Soviet nuclear submarine from the ocean floor. It's typically reserved for cases where even acknowledging the existence of information is considered extremely sensitive. And that is what raised eyebrows and speculation, because 3I Atlas, it's already publicly tracked, its orbit is known, its behavior is openly studied. So critics asked, why invoke a secrecy tool designed for covert intelligence operations at all? Now, there's no definitive evidence that this object is alien technology, but the choice of silence and the CIA tool used to enforce it, that's what keeps people asking questions.
In summary, we cannot release the documents you are requesting because we cannot confirm nor deny that such documents exist. Why? Because the information that the fact that these documents may or may not exist is classified.
What kind of comet requires intelligence-level silence? What kind of space rock passing through our solar system becomes a matter that could compromise sources and methods used to protect American national security? These are not rhetorical questions meant to stir up conspiracy theories. These are legitimate questions about administrative process, about why two branches of the federal government with access to the same observational data arrived at completely opposite conclusions about how that data should be handled. NASA published papers, held press conferences, encouraged public engagement. The CIA invoked the same legal protections used for spy satellites and covert operations. This isn't about whether 3I Atlas is natural or artificial. This is about why the government's response is fractured, why the reassurance and the secrecy exist simultaneously, occupying the same bureaucratic space while pointing in opposite directions. I want to be clear about what we're investigating here. This is not a quest for proof of extraterrestrial intelligence. This is not an attempt to convince you that aliens are visiting Earth. This is an examination of process, of the machinery of government secrecy, of what happens when the contradictions become too obvious to ignore. We're going to walk through the physical anomalies associated with 3I Atlas, the statistical oddities that make scientists uncomfortable, the patterns that might mean everything or might mean nothing. But we're going to do it with our eyes open, distinguishing between what we can prove, what we can suspect, and what we simply cannot know because someone has decided we're not allowed to know it. The Glomar response is our starting point because it's the only part of this story that's definitively, documentably weird. Everything else requires interpretation, requires weighing evidence and considering alternatives. But that CIA letter, that's just strange, no matter how you look at it. And if the foundation is strange, maybe we should pay closer attention to what's built on top of it.
The CIA just got asked if they had any information on the interstellar comet 3I Atlas, and they said we can neither confirm nor deny for a rock from another star system. What? Now, this is a real CIA response from December 31st, 2025, to a Freedom of Information Act or a FOIA request by Jonathan Greenwald, a top government transparency expert from the Black Vault. He asked for any CIA assessments, reports, or communications about 3I Atlas, or interstellar object 3I. FOIA lets anyone request government records to promote transparency, but the CIA hit back with the Glomar response. And this was named after the Cold War spy ship case. It means they can neither confirm nor deny if the records even exist, citing national security exemptions under Executive Order 13526 and the CIA Act of 1949. They say revealing that could expose intelligent sources and methods for a comet that's not normal, mate. Now, why is this so wild? NASA calls 3I Atlas a natural comet. No big deal. But it's shown weird stuff. A sun-facing antitail before and after closest approach to the sun. A rotation axis perfectly aligned towards the sun. An orbit almost exactly matching Earth's plane. Super unlikely for a random interstellar visitor. And a chemical makeup rich in nickel. More like man-made alloys than your typical space ice. Plus, radio scans by Breakthrough Listen found no signals, but that doesn't rule out tech. The CIA secrecy, they use Glomar for super sensitive spy stuff, not space rocks. As Harvard professor Avi Loeb says, if 3I Atlas is a comet, why would the CIA neither deny nor confirm the existence of records on it? Something passing through our neighborhood scouting us, maybe. But in my personal opinion, I don't think this is anything to do with anything negative. Greenwald is appealing this, and experts like Loeb are calling it baffling. This could be nothing or the start of something interstellar. What do you think? Now, between me and you, right, NASA and the CIA have a knack for painting targets on their back. I mean, the presentation that NASA did recently to do with 3I Atlas, that whole thing was an absolute laughable joke, right? And CIA hiding information to do with 3I Atlas and what it could be, I don't know. I mean, I don't believe anything negative is linked with this object itself. I think what it's done is woken people up and has made more people look up to the skies and question more things to do with the universe and the system itself. So, 3 Atlas has done its job. But what do you guys think? What do you think the CIA's got and they're being sus about? You let me know down below.
On December 31st, the CIA responded to a Freedom of Information Act request filed by John Greenwald Jr. on the Black Vault, and he asked for any records referencing 3I Atlas from June 1st of 2025 to present day. And the response stated that the CIA can neither confirm nor deny the existence or non-existence of records. The agency went on further, stating the fact of documents existing or not existing is classified in itself. This is called the Glomar response. The term comes from the 1970s incident involving a ship called the Hughes Glomar Explorer, which the CIA was secretly using to recover a sunken Soviet submarine. When journalists asked about it, the agency coined this phrase to avoid confirming or denying classified operations. Now, here is the context that really matters. Greenwald has been doing this for nearly 30 years. He has filed thousands of FOIA requests, and he made something very clear. Why did the CIA do this? Why not give an answer? Because the CIA doesn't always do this. Greenwald provided specific examples from his own FOIA history. Case F-2022-00699 requests records about a potential attack on the U.S. Embassy in Colombia scheduled for September 11, 2012. The CIA responded with no records. Case F-2021-01807 requested records about an Iranian F-14 that crashed after being scrambled to investigate a flying object near the Bushehr nuclear power plant in 2012. Again, no records. Both of these requests dealt with intelligence matters. Both involved sources and methods, but the CIA did not issue a Glomar response. They simply said no records exist. So the question becomes, why did 3I Atlas get different treatment?
If 3I Atlas is a comet, why would the CIA neither deny nor confirm the existence of records on it? So far, 3I Atlas displayed a number of unexplained features relative to familiar comets. On December 31st, 2025, the CIA replied to a Freedom of Information Act inquiry by John Greenwald that it can neither deny nor confirm the existence or non-existence of records related to 3I Atlas. That this information is treated as sensitive enough to be classified by the CIA is surprising, given that NASA officials stated decisively at a press conference on November 9, 2025, that Atlas is definitely a comet of natural origin. If this conclusion was clear all along to everyone within government and academia, as national officials presented the case, then why would the CIA treat the possible existence of records dealing with the natural comet as sensitive enough to be classified?
Suggests a mechanism that is either far more complex than our current models account for, or something else entirely. Then came the alignment issues. When researchers measured the rotation axis of 3I Atlas at large distances from the Sun, they found it aligned to within 8 degrees of the sunward direction. Let's be clear about what this means. The orientation of a comet's spin axis is essentially random, determined by whatever collisions and gravitational interactions shaped its history over millions or billions of years. There is no physical reason for that axis to preferentially point at the Sun unless some mechanism is actively stabilizing it in that orientation. The probability of such an alignment occurring by chance is small, not impossible, but small enough to raise eyebrows. And it gets stranger. The orbital plane of 3I Atlas, the flat disk within which its trajectory lies, aligns to within 5 degrees of the ecliptic plane, which is the plane defined by Earth's orbit around the Sun, and the general plane in which most planets in our solar system orbit. Again, interstellar objects come from random directions in three-dimensional space. There is no reason for their orbital planes to show any preference for aligning with our ecliptic unless there is some selection effect we do not understand, or unless the object's trajectory was not as random as we assume. If you want to follow this story as it develops, make sure you're subscribed, because 3i Atlas isn't done surprising us. These geometric coincidences are not fatal to the natural comet hypothesis, but they are uncomfortable, the kind of details that make you wonder if there is a missing piece of the puzzle. Let's look closer at the data, because there is one more anomaly that stands apart from the geometric oddities, and it involves chemistry. When astronomers analyze the light emitted by the gas surrounding a comet, they can identify the specific elements and molecules present in that gas by looking at the wavelengths of light being absorbed or emitted, a technique called spectroscopy. For 3i Atlas, the spectroscopic analysis revealed something unexpected. Nickel was unusually.
On December 31st, 2025, the CIA sent a formal letter to John Greenwald Jr., founder of the Black Vault. It wasn't a press release. It wasn't a statement to the public. It was a Freedom of Information Act response. And it said something very specific. The CIA would neither confirm nor deny the existence or non-existence of any records related to 3i Atlas, also referred to as Interstellar Object 3i. Not the contents, not the conclusions, the existence of records themselves. This response was issued under FOIA Exemption 3 and Executive Order 13,526. That matters, because this is what's known as a Glomar response. It doesn't mean documents exist. It doesn't mean they don't. It means that even answering the question would itself be classified. The letter states that confirming or denying records would reveal information protected under intelligence sources and methods, national security provisions, statutory exemptions within the CIA Act of 1949. In other words, the CIA is not responding to 3i Atlas as an object. It is responding to the question about records. This is critical. A Glomar response does not imply interest, concern, or investigation. It is a procedural shield. The same response has been issued in the past for surveillance programs, aircraft, foreign communications, even administrative record systems. The response protects process, not meaning. So why did this letter draw so much attention? Because 3i Atlas has already been the subject of intense public scrutiny. Because the term interstellar object carries weight well beyond astronomy. And because a neither confirm nor deny response is rare enough that it tends to be noticed. This combination is what elevated a routine FOIA response into a broader discussion. Not because of what the letter claims, but because of what it deliberately does not address. What the document establishes is a limit, a line the agency will not cross in a public response. Nothing more than that. Around this silence, a range of interpretations has emerged. Some focus on gaps in observation, others point to periods where public data slowed or stopped, and some frame that silence itself as the story. This post is one example of how those interpretations are being formed. It reflects a question being asked publicly, not an answer provided by the data. This letter does not describe any analysis of 3i Atlas. It does not state that records exist, and it does not state that they do not. It does not characterize the object. It does not assess its origin, and it does not engage with any public interpretation. The response is limited to one thing only: whether the existence of records can be acknowledged.
Of the galaxy. So it's not an intergalactic, it's galactic, but it's interplanetary. And come to find out, this thing altered its course to make its route to come through our solar system. and not only come through it, but take a scenic route. In other words, like the vacation stops. Let's go see the rings of Saturn. Let's go see Jupiter. Let's go see the moons. It was a crazy thing, but also its ability to eject some type of mass or thrust out of the back. And then it had the capability of ejecting thrust out of the front. So it was making these course corrections and this slowing down and speeding up. The big thing about this was the scan of the actual physical body of this object. If it was a meteorite or an asteroid, it would normally give off some type of outgassing as it got closer to the sun. And that could create artificial course corrections because of the gassing. But this thing was giving off the actual signature of iron, but not just any kind of iron, like machined iron. And we know exactly what that is because we do it here on Earth. And so they also saw some patterns on the outside of this object, which shouldn't be there, geometric type patterns. And then as it
Have you heard of the Glomar response? It's a Cold War secrecy tactic, and the CIA just used it when they were asked about 3I Atlas. And that choice has definitely raised some eyebrows. So, as we all know, the interstellar object just recently passed through our solar system, and it caused a stir. Now, NASA said it behaved like a normal comet. Astronomers, both professional and amateur, searched for intelligent radio signals or technosignatures, and they didn't find anything definitive. But when the CIA was just asked if they're holding on to any information regarding 3I Atlas, they didn't say yes, and they didn't say no. They issued what's known as a Glomar response. We can neither confirm nor deny the existence of records on 3I Atlas. Here's why that matters. The Glomar response was created during the Cold War, and it was to hide a highly classified operation that involved a secret attempt to recover a Soviet nuclear submarine from the ocean floor. It's typically reserved for cases where even acknowledging the existence of information is considered extremely sensitive. And that is what raised eyebrows and speculation, because 3I Atlas, it's already publicly tracked, its orbit is known, its behavior is openly studied. So critics asked, why invoke a secrecy tool designed for covert intelligence operations at all? Now, there's no definitive evidence that this object is alien technology, but the choice of silence and the CIA tool used to enforce it, that's what keeps people asking questions.
So is 3I Atlas more than just a comet? Wait, I thought we figured this one out already. Or do we not? Is there still more secrets going on? Let's see. So recently, the CIA released a letter. On December 31st, 2025, the Central Intelligence Agency replied to a Freedom of Information Act inquiry by John Greenwald Jr. that it can neither deny nor confirm the existence or non-existence of records related to 3I Atlas. What? And here's the letter. So we knew 3I Atlas was acting a little different than other interstellar objects. You know, it's unique. It comes from a different part of the universe. You know, it's expected, I suppose. But this is a little unusual, right? So if it's just a comet, why even put something out there we can neither confirm or deny? Like, you're already putting something in the air. Why even reply back? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm confused by this. Is it meant to mislead? Is it meant to keep our eyes on 3I Atlas still? Now, we still are going to get information once it passes, things like March. Jupiter will be able to pick up information about it with 3I Atlas. But this is just, I don't know. This is suspect. Is anyone getting that vibe? I mean, we already know when NASA released their images, like, what? Okay, yeah, given their excuses are, well, you know, the Hubble and stuff like that's floating through space a different way. It's not supposed to. But I mean, you guys have the strongest telescopes, you know, in the world, and I would expect something better than what you showed us. I'm just saying, because even amateurs got some decent photos of 3I Atlas. But nonetheless, this is suspicious with the CIA. And it's like, I'm just trying to figure out if it's to mislead or what. Like, why word it like that? I don't know. What do you guys think?
So remember 3I Atlas, which turned out to be a nothing burger at the end of the year? Well, guess what? They're actually hiding something from us. This is John Greenwald Jr., a UFO researcher who got in contact with the CIA to have them disclose information about 3i Atlas. Now, due to the Freedom of Information Act, the government's supposed to disclose to the public about what they're doing, their whereabouts on certain subjects, etc. And this is their response to John. And I quote, "We completed a thorough review of your request and determined that in accordance with Section 3.6a of Executive Order 13526, the CIA can neither confirm nor deny the existence or non-existence of records responsive to your requests." Now, it goes on to say that this information is now classified due to the CIA Act of 1947 and the National Security Act of 1949. So therefore, your request is denied. Okay, so at this point, we should all be very, very suspicious, because not knowing what this thing is one thing, but now there may be infighting within the community about disclosure.
There are people that are controlling this information, and there does seem to be, even outside of the purview of, I think, sometimes our own secretaries who have the best intentions on declassifying this stuff, there is this internal intelligence battle on this.
Internal intelligence battle sounds very promising, doesn't it? And of course, it's always in the movies, because there's a movie coming out this summer called Disclosure Day. So it really makes you wonder, are we going to get our own Disclosure Day, or maybe not because they're hiding it? Who knows? Make sure you guys hit up my YouTube, The Maverick Approach, but let me know what you guys think about all this down below.
Letter is a final response to your 12 November 2025 Freedom of Information Act of the FOIA request secting of assessment report of communication maintained by the Central Intelligence Agency referencing 3i Atlas interstellar object 31 from June 1st, 2025 to
Okay. So in my opinion, it's kind of obvious they're hiding what this thing is. I think this government does know what it is, but they don't want the public to know. And that's really what it boils down to. And I also notice, and I don't know if any of you notice, I notice how the solar storms have increased a lot. And it seems like it's a lot more frequent, they're stronger, and they're very close together. And it's like, okay, I mean, I've seen solar storms, we all seen them, and the ejections that hit the earth and everything. That's where you get your aurora borealis. And it just seems to be more frequently now, you know? So we shall see. We shall see what 3i Atlas does in 2026. But whatever happens, we know it's going to be here at least until March. They're claiming it's going to leave, but they're really not 100% sure if this thing is going to leave our solar system. They really don't know. They're just really speculating on that. So, y'all, if there's any updates in the future, we'll continue to talk about it. It's definitely something I'm interested in following, and I will be following it. So, y'all, I don't know if you were aware, but there was a big protest, not only in Minneapolis, but in other parts of the country yesterday. And we're going to watch some of the footage from the protests that happened. And we'll also get into the passport situation where people are traveling and finding out their passports, US passports, are invalid. Now, the same thing is happening with Canadian passports, but I'm going to focus mainly on US passports, because that's really what's going to impact us the most. So we'll talk about that a little later as well. So I will see you at 6:00. That's my next live. So y'all, thank you for being here. I did post the link to my Give Send Go, and I want to deeply thank everybody that have donated. Again, my surgery will be February 18th. So hopefully I'll have everything I need, and I won't have to worry about, getting through the financial part of it. And boy, I just can't wait to get it over with. The pain some days is unbearable, and then other days it's okay. So hopefully it'll be resolved soon. I'm sure hoping for that. So thank each and every one of you that gave. And again, I pray to the Most High that you get it all back tenfold. Shalom, family.